So 15 kilograms of rice are separated equally into 4 containers. How many kilograms of rice are in each container? Express your answer as a decimal and a fraction. That's the hard part. Okay, so if I'm doing divided equally, this is probably something I'm going to want, isn't it? Okay. Get busy writing it. Do I have a total amount of rice?
No.
15 kilograms.
I mean, yes.
How many containers am I dividing into?
4.
Okay, so my job is to figure out 1 container, correct? Here's my question. Okay, so this is backwards from what we've been doing. We're going to start with 4 units equals 15 kilograms. And then we're going down to 1 unit. So how am I going to figure out 1 unit here?
Are you going to have to times it by 5?
No.
You're going to have to divide. Oh, I mean
Divide 15 by the number of containers, okay? Now it said, express your answer as a fraction and a decimal, so you need 2 more equal signs for that, okay? So this is going to be a review of what we have been doing in Module 2. So let's take a look at, but we're going to add fractions. So 15 divided by 4. The first thing we're going to do is the fraction, okay? So don't work ahead. In fact, don't work ahead at all today, but you need to keep up with me. So quit messing with pencils. So if I'm going to do this, I could skip count by 4s, or I could skip count in my head, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go about to here for now.
3.
Okay. So 3 times 4 equals what?
12.
And then I have a remainder of 3. Now, who remembers how to make a fraction out of your quotient, your divisor, and your remainder?
Oh, are we doing
At a
the
zero?
thing?
Not yet. I said, who remembers how to make a fraction out of your quotient? It's actually going to be a mixed number. Your quotient, your remainder, and your divisor. You remember, Tucker? Can I give you a hint?
Yeah.
You're going to take this 3 and make a fraction out of it with the 4.
4.3?
4 divided by
A fraction is a little bit different than a decimal. So, how many whole kilograms do I have? 3. Because that's my quotient, correct? Okay, so don't write this, but what's my remainder? 3. Okay, so if I take my remainder, put it on top of my divisor,
Oh,
it makes
that's
a fraction.
I forgot about
Okay, now what does this mean? 3 divided by 4. What does this mean? 3 divided by 4, doesn't it? So your line on your fraction is going to be thought of as a division sign. Lots of times, okay? So 3 3/4 is the fraction. What's the label? Labeling wasn't our strong point yesterday on the test, so get your labels on there. Now, Hayden wants to carry it out with the decimal and the 0. We're going to do that because what does it tell us to do? Decimal. Okay, so tell me what to do, Hayden.
I was just asking if we were, but you put a decimal, then a 0, then drop the 0 down to the 3, and then see how many.
Okay, and I think I'm going to keep going on my skip counting here.
I think 28 would go best.
You think 28 would go best?
Yeah.
4 times what is 28?
7.
Okay. And on this one, I mean, I'm going to think of the big picture, 30 minus 28. I know it's 2. But if you want to regroup, you're going to get the same answer. Okay? I'm not done because
Another
I'm
zero.
gonna add another 0. So do we have a perfect match over here?
Yes.
Okay. 4 times what equals 20?
5.
Okay, so I'm done. And I get to express my answer as a decimal, which is 3 75/100.
Imagine if you had to do that like 70 times.
That would be a lot. Okay. So these two are equal, even though one's a decimal and one's a fraction. Oh, by the way, how much is 3/4?
75 cents.
Oh, that makes perfect sense then, doesn't it? Because how do you say this? 3/4. Or you could say 3/4. Okay? Or 3/4. Okay, let's keep going. This is when it gets interesting and fun. Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit of a review. In fact, this part of the lesson is a review from 4th grade. You may or may not remember it. Okay? So I need your attention where on this paper? On problem 1. It says make fractions equal to 1/2. Now I'm going to write a word here. You don't have to write it.
Equality.
Equivalent. And inside of the word equivalent, I can kind of find equal. It's divided, isn't it? Okay? But I'm going to be using the word equivalent most of the time. What do you think it means? Equal. Okay? So I'm going to show you the strategy for doing this in 5th grade. It may be different than 4th, and I do not want you to work ahead. I just want you to follow along. So you're going to have to look up here, first of all. To make fractions equivalent to 1/2, I have to look at the 2, because the 2 tells me how many equal spaces I need on my number line. Now watch me, okay? The first thing you always do is mark your end points. Oh, I guess I've lost my mind. 0 and 1. No idea why I went backwards. Then you mark your equal spaces. So how many equal spaces do I need? 2. Okay, don't do this, but this is how you can tell your spaces.
Yep.
Do you have 2 hops?
Yep.
Okay, don't put your hops on there.
2 hops this time.
Okay, so then you're going to write down your denominator. It's not going to change. It's still going to be a what? 2. Now, here's how I remember denominator. Denominator is downstairs. Numerator,
D and D.
numerator is upstairs.
One less than the other.
But what can I do to the U to make it an N?
Flip it upside down.
Flip it upside down, which I wish I could do on here, but
You could. You can.
I know, but I don't have time. Okay? So here's how I remember it. Upstairs, downstairs. Flip the U around to an N. What's that called? Numerator. What's this called? Denominator. Okay? You might already know these, and it's not going to take you long. But here's my numerator. 0 halves.
1/2.
1/2. 2 halves. Now, do you remember fractions? Whenever the numerator matches the denominator, it means 1 whole.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now, let's make some equivalent fractions. Here's the strategy. First thing I want you to do is divide each shape in half. You just have to eyeball it. Get your pencil, draw a line. No, you don't need a ruler.
Cut it in half.
That's right. Now, in 5th grade when we shade, we do not color it in. Because the lessons coming later require the diagonal lines. So we're starting it today. Shade 1/2 of each shape. And you have to use diagonal lines. It's non-negotiable. It's faster than shading anyway. So once you have them shaded, I want you to look up here and I'm going to show you what to do next. And this is the part that might look familiar to you. So you're out of time to shade. Look up here and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so each of these is 1/2, correct?
Correct.
Write that down.
No, never.
And write it with a straight line. It's very important that you do not write it like it would look on a computer. Don't write it like that, even though that looks really cool, doesn't it? But it won't work for this lesson. Whoops. Okay, so
You almost drew like a little circle.
I know it. So now here's what I want you to do. In your second shape, draw one horizontal line. In your third shape, draw two horizontal lines. How many horizontal lines do you think you're going to draw in there? Three horizontal lines. Okay, this is where I want you to stop. We are counting rows, not lines. So when I look at this, here's one row, here's the second row going across.
It still stays half.
Okay, now it is going to be half because we're doing equivalent fractions. So this is really cool. Make this line longer. This might be familiar to you. And then how many rows do I have?
4. 2.
No, I don't want to know boxes. I want to know rows.
2.
1, 2. So multiply the numerator and the denominator times 2. Now this does not mean 2 halves. Okay? It means the
Oh yeah.
The top one's divided into 2, the bottom one's divided into 2. Now, what's 1 times 2?
2.
What's 2 times 2?
4.
2/4 is equivalent to 1/2. Starting today, you need to circle your answer. The final one, the final fraction. Okay? We'll do the same strategy here,
Well, with threes.
but with 3 rows. Hayden's right. So here's the first row, the second row, the third row. And that doesn't mean 3/3, it means 3 rows. Okay? Fernando Q, what's 1 times 3?
3.
What's 2 times 3?
6.
Is 3/6 equivalent to 1/2?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Okay, the next one, make your line longer.
4.
4 rows. Halen, I'm going to have you tell me what the final fraction is going to be. 4/8. Okay, so that's how to make equivalent fractions to 1/2. We're going to do 1/3 and then we'll probably run out of time. Okay, so let's go to the next box. What's the denominator? 3. That's how many equal parts I need. The first step, mark your endpoints. Second step, make 3 equal parts to the number line. They're little line segments, aren't they? Watch, you don't need to do this, but this is how I can count my spaces. Okay? Don't do that because that'll mess us up. We might do that later though. Okay, what's my denominator? 3. Denominator downstairs, right? That's my number of spaces. That's not my number of lines. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Okay. So this would be 0/3. What would this be?
1.
1/3, 2/3, 3/3. Okay? 3/3 is equivalent to 1. So on your shapes, how many equal parts do we need? 3. Because our denominator is 3 this time. How many many will I shade?
Two.
One.
One. You have to look at your numerator. So shade 1.
Not with the boring shading, with the imaginary.
It looks like your hair's cringy.
My hair is fried, is what it is.
Because
It needs a haircut.
the drawing.
Yeah.
The
Okay, so what are each of my fractions here?
It looks like a quarantine tape.
Can we go?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay,
1/3.
so write that down. Okay, and this one is 1 out of 3. You can also think of it as 1 out of 3 or 1 divided by 3. 1 whole divided by 3. Okay, so now horizontal lines. 1 line, 2 lines, and 3 lines.
Wow.
Okay.
That's a lot.
So how many rows on the second shape?
2.
2 rows.
It's a 9 by 9.
Okay. Multiply for me. 1 times 2.
Equals 2.
3 times 2.
Equals 6.
Circle your answer. Okay. All right. The next one. How many rows here?
3.
3. So multiply the fraction, each number, by 3. And what's 1 times 3?
3.
And 3 times
9.
3?
9.
Okay. Okay. How many rows here?
4.
You do not have to do this. I'm just giving you a visual. Okay? All right. So multiply the numerator and the denominator by 4. Okay. 1 times 4
4.
and 3 times 4.
12.
So those are equivalent fractions. They're all equal to 1/2 or 1/3. Channing said, "Oh, they're still 1/3, aren't they? We just have more pieces now." Here's what I want you to know. Sprint for lesson 2 is doing this right here in your head. So that's how fast it's advancing. If you do not feel comfortable with your multiplication facts, it is up to you. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause, actually